waist. Of 34 inches. Then I have hips of 40 inches. And we already know the length of 23 inches. So if I draw the kilt, the back is going to look like that. So this section here, the hips 40, half of that, I'm going to do 20. The waist 34, so this here is 17. And that to there is 2 inch. Fantastic schematic representation, but you'll see as soon as I start sizing it up. So what I'm looking for is, I've got a waist of 34, I've got a hips of 40 inch, I've got a length of 23. So from there to there is 23 inches. I've got a hip of 20, tapers into 17. And that's what I'm going to be doing right now. As I'm standing over the tartan, I folded it in half and I've laid it over the table. As I'm standing over the tartan, I've got the top at the top and I've got the selvedge down at the bottom. I've got the twill. Can you see this line, this fine line, the horizontal 45-degree angle twill? It goes from my right to my left. It's going up that way. Can you see that? If you have it the other way around, it's incorrect, and you'll see when we're starting to stitch the seams, it can only go this way. So point to note. Then as I've folded this, I find where my center point is, and there it is there. So I find the most closest prominent line to it, and there it is there. So there's my center point. All right. So on my tape measure, I've now worked out, and I'll show you how to do that. We're going to be folding this center line onto there, and that center line onto there to form the first box pleat. As I'm doing that, my fell is going to be 1/3 of the tartan. So my fell is going to be 1/3 distance of that length there. We'll figure it out what that is right now. So in order for me to find my fell distance, I've got a kilt which is 23, so I put the 23 down at the bottom. Now remember, with the previous presentation, we had a look at, I've cut this a little bit higher than normal just to allow for that additional fraying. So a few centimeters, or whatever 1/100th of an inch it is up there, that's acceptable. Rather a kilt that's slightly too long than a kilt that's too small. Alright, so I've got that on 23, and I divide 23 by 3, so it should be somewhere in the vicinity of somewhere around over there. So I use my calculator to divide 59 centimeters or 23 inches, and it's given me 19.6, so that's 7 3/4 of an inch over there. So what I do is, on my center line, over there. So can you see now? It's in halfway from that line to that line. So mid-center. There it is there. Right. So my fell is going to be, my measurement that I'm going to be taking is from there till 2 inches above there. So this is going to be my fell. My pleats are going to start looking like this now. They're going to come down and down. Alright, and that's what I'm going to figure out next. So I've taken the distance of the fell, which is in the center there, and I'm going to now fold this line onto there, this line onto there, and I'm going to keep doing it until I get enough for the inner apron and enough for the outer apron. So this is just a rough indication as to where my fell begins. Alright, so I'm using the blue line. It's very hard to see the colors with this tartan. The blue line, or the blue with the red line, is where I'm going to be folding my crease onto. And I'm going to be putting it in the center. Just like that. Then I'll take my magic pins and I'll place it one over there, and one over there. So that's the start of the box pleat. Can you see this gauge? There's a black line. I'm just using the black line slightly going off, and whatever I do on this side, I've got to do it on this side. So I'm going to be moving this to that line there. Can you see the first box pleat? So what I've got now is a little bit more than 7 centimeters. And if I do that a few times, that will be my sum total width of 20 inches. Right, so if I go there, just short of 3 inches, my next one will be just short of 3 inches. My next one will be just short of 3 inches, and as I go on, it will make a sum total of 20 inches for my back. And this is what I'm looking for in the hips. So I'm just going to keep moving on. I've done my first one on this side, on my front apron. Now I must do it on this side, on my inner apron. So I'm taking this black line and I'm putting it on the blue. Right, so when I look at this, I've got the black line with a little bit of white, or a little bit of green, and then the black line with a little bit of green. I'm going to scroll down, black line with a little bit of green, and so forth and so forth. So I'm going to be doing this one more time. So here's the next blue line, the next blue stripe with the red. I'm going to be bringing this one over onto that there. Can you see there? I've got 2 boxes. Now if I look at this measurement, it's just shy of 3. And if I look at this, ooh, can you see there? It's just shy of 3. And can you see those 2 gauges there? That actually gives me a measurement. That actually shows me. I'm pointing that out there. There's a black line and a little bit of green. Black line, a little bit of green. And this is going to run perpendicular all the way down into my selvage. Now remember, when I'm creating these pleats, from the fell, from the start of the fell, can you see there? That has to be 17 inches. So I'm going to be making this narrower as we go along there. Can you see that? But that I'll talk about in a separate presentation. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm just going to be duplicating this, bringing this side onto there, and then this side onto there, and so forth and so forth. So you can see the pleats are quite large, and what I'm looking for is there's that center red line, and then the black, and then the black. My stitching is going to be slightly off that red black, slightly off that black, and slightly off that black there. So this forms, I'm going to go and do this all the way down there, and then I'm going to stick this, and I'll show you what to do in the next video. So I'm happy with this. I've got 7 pleats, all of the same width. And if I run my tape measure, which I'll do, it gives me, with the camera in hand, gives me the pleat that I'm looking for, which is just on 20. So when I stitch this up, 20 is my aim, and that's what I'm looking for. Alright, so this is starting to look like a kilt. Can you see I've got 7 box pleats? There's the start of the fell. I need to do the waist, and I'll be doing that after I've basted the pleats. So can you see I've got 7 of these? They're all pretty much by eye. I'm looking at that black line with a bit of green. Black line with a bit of green. So as I'm going down, I need that black line to be even all the way down till the end of the selvage, and that's what I'm looking for. Alright, so I've got 7 beautiful pleats, and from that side to that side there is 20 inches. So that means that from the bottom there to the bottom there is 20 inches. Remember, this forms your hip. So as soon as you've got your hip measurement, I'm going to now baste this, and then this, my next section, I am now going to be tailing that to 17 inch, because right now it's 20 inch. So I'm going to taper these in slightly more. So that's what it looks like. Once I've now pinned my 7 pleats, the next thing I'm going to be doing is grabbing some basting thread, and I'll take a fairly long bit and using my Ernest Wright scissors, thread it through so it stands something like that. Now when I'm basting, I am not going to be tying them off. The idea of basting is just to keep the pleats in place so that I can iron it and work with it. Once I've ironed and work with it, I take the basting out. Here's the start of the fell. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be steeking these down. I still have to work north of this into tapering the waist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this in, then stitch that one in, and then stitch this one in. So I start a little bit under that white line. I'll leave that. I'm not going to tie that up, and I'll just do another so it stays. Alright, so that's not going to go anywhere. Then the next one's there. So can you see I've got that black line with a bit of green, and that's exactly what I'm going to do there. So I move it over slightly under the line, take both of them through and lift it up. Can you see that? I go there, under there, and bring it in just south of that little white indicator line. Now, I'm not pulling it excessively tight. I'm just making sure that those stay nicely in place. Alright, so there I've got it there. I'm going to be moving on to the next one. This one's a little bit wide. Can you see there? It's a little bit wide. So I'll just make it slightly narrower. Alright, this one, the needle, goes under all the tartan, then up, not too tight, there it is there. Then I go under it again, and I bring the 2 pleats together, there it is there. Alright, then I do the next one. Go under the cloth, take both of them together, and under again. Now this last one, I don't tie off. Do an extra one like that. There we go. Take the scissors. So in essence, that's what it looks like. Started there, brought it over, brought it over. So all that the steeking is doing is it's preventing the seam from opening up and just giving me a base from where I can start working. So here we go. I've got the start of my fell, I've got the first basting, second basting, and I usually just do a hand width. It keeps it nice and uniform. It also looks nice and neat. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bastes, and that is going to keep this nice and tight whilst I sew these pleats. So you don't have to pleat these, baste these in. I like basting them in because it just gives me a nice, even, neat platform. So that's what the box looks like. If we scroll down, so in summary, what we learned with this presentation is how to measure the pleats, how to steek, and how to make sure that I've met the client's needs by having a 34 waist, a 40 hip, and a 23 length. So in the next presentation, I'll show you how to measure up for the waist, and then we start stitching. So I'll see you in the next one.